water drop sitting on a leaf. The rays of the sun beaming onto the lush, vibrant forest floor. It's all part of nature's glorious story of life in the raw. Far-ranging and vast, Indonesia's giant rainforests are home to tens of thousands of tropical plant species, estimated to contain 15% of plant species in the entire world. However, the forest canopy in Indonesia is rapidly losing its density and is decaying. Massive exploitation and a shift in the forest land function have resulted in almost 800 native Indonesian plants being put on the red list of threatened species by the International Union for Conservation, or IUCN. This means that Indonesia is not only recognized as an archipelago of mega biodiversity, but also as mega hotspot of environmental concern. Every threat needs to be addressed with conservation efforts that are required to be both scientific and sustainable. The history of Indonesia's biodiversity, research and conservation activities can be traced to many centuries ago. It started with the development and expansion of the backyard of Bogor Palace during the reign of Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles in the early 19th century. In 1817, when Caspar George Carl Rindwort inaugurated the opening of 47 hectares of land, establishing the scientific institution which is now known today as the Bogor Botanical Garden. About 35 years later, Bogor Botanical Garden's curator, Johannes Elias Theesman, then opened up the land to be utilised as a place to experiment on potentially economical plants and medicines in a highland habitat. This location has since become Saboda's Botanical Garden. Bogor Botanical Garden gained a rapid upturn throughout the 1880s when Melchior Trub sat in the director's chair. He had a vision for the Bogor Botanical Garden to become the world's first tropical botanical research centre. This was ideal as Bogor is surrounded by a natural facility of biodiversity, rich tropical rainforests, and he also initiated developing a Western Standard laboratory.
Dan laboratorium ini kemudian berhasil mengundang para botanis dari berbagai belahan dunia untuk datang dan melakukan penelitian di Kebun Raya Bogor karena memiliki 2 fasilitas terbaik di dunia tropis. Oleh karena itu, banyak botanis seluruh dunia yang menganggap Kebun Raya Bogor adalah Mekahnya botani tropis.
Exploring the abundance of biodiversity led to the birth of another botanical garden. In 1941, Purwodadi Botanical Garden was launched. This facility is a conservation site for dry lowland plant habitats. In 1959, the Eka Karya Bali Botanical Garden was established to conserve dry highland plants and plants of eastern Indonesia. The establishment coincided with the appointment of Sujana Kasan, the first native person to serve as a director of the Botanical Garden. Everything valuable needs a guardian. In modern times, all botanical gardens are now managed by the Indonesian Institute of Sciences, known as LIPI. They have consistently played their role as the last bastion of plant conservation. In situ research and plant conservation activities continue to be implemented to pursue cultivation, recovery, breeding, and sustainable use. The effort is carried out with the aim of increasing the collections of endangered plant species so that they can be conserved throughout every botanical garden.
Karakter utama dan identitas Kebun Raya sebetulnya adalah di bidang penelitian dan konservasi. Identitas ini sudah terbawa di dalam Kebun Raya sejak tahun-tahun awal didirikan sampai dengan saat ini dan insya Allah sampai di masa-masa yang akan datang. Jadi kami semua fokus kepada konservasi dan penelitian.
Besides the ever-developing laboratories, every botanical garden is equipped with research support facilities. One example is the seed bank, a conservation method that is considered efficient, as conservation through seed storage does not require ample space and can be stored for a long time, as well as easily provide genetic products if required. Then, the herbarium, which includes both wet and dry herbariums. The specimen storage is helpful for reference to plant characteristics, as well as tracing the types of plants that have been collected and/or had once been collected. Siboda's botanical garden even uploads dried specimens and digital data on a publicly accessible website. The website, by now, has stored details on thousands of specimen types.
Di samping itu juga seperti bisa kita lihat ada beberapa rumah kaca yang dibangun untuk tujuan-tujuan aklimatisasi, bisa juga untuk tujuan koleksi dan display, bisa juga untuk tujuan penelitian-penelitian eksperimental.
Indonesia has an immense love and fondness for orchid flowers. Hence, the Bogor Botanical Garden has a special greenhouse specifically used for researching orchids. Orchids are epiphytic plants, naturally growing on top of other plants. Orchids come in a range of diverse shapes and colours. Their beauty for a long time has captivated the world. The non-stop action of orchid hunting in their natural habitat is a serious wake-up call to urgently conserve these unique plants. Indonesia is also a land gracefully bestowed upon an ample number of orchid germplasm. Of the estimated 30,000 types of orchids found globally, about 5,000 species are found in Indonesia. The beauty and significance of orchids for Indonesia has even led to one of its species to be designated as the national flower, namely the moon orchid, also known as the Phalaenopsis amabilis. With their natural habitats scattered all over Indonesia, research and conservation of orchids are carried out in all botanical gardens, where each location houses its own unique collection. The ornamental plants trend also can threaten begonia, which is seeing an increase in popularity due to its unique variation in leaf morphology. From Sumatra to Papua, Indonesia is estimated to have up to 400 species of begonia. Some are endemic only to Indonesia, with roughly 20% of the total 2,000 species found globally. Indonesia is regarded as the centre of diversity of the begonia plant genus. Begonias are also part of the collections owned by all the botanical gardens. With 99 different species of begonias, the Eka Karya Bali Botanical Garden holds an achievement of the most complete collection of begonias in the world. the more we realize, the less we know of what can be revealed in Indonesia's rainforests. The uncovered mysteries of botanical science are still hiding and continue to encourage researchers to keep exploring. One miraculous plant species from Indonesia is Titanarum, or Amor papalus titanum, better known locally as Bunga Bangkai, the corpse flower. The name is derived from its strong, pungent smell that can be sensed from tens of meters away. Commonly found in Sumatra, this native Indonesian plant is increasingly threatened in its natural environment and classified as rare by the IUCN classification. Among its uniqueness are its life cycle and size. In the generative phase, the flowers will bloom with a petal width of up to 1.5 meters and a cob height of up to 2.5 meters. In the vegetative phase, its pseudostems and leaves can grow as tall as 6 meters, while in the dormant phase, the giant tubers are hidden underground.
Kami menemukannya di tahun 2000, kemudian kita bawa ke Kebun Raya Cibodas dan dilakukan penelitian termasuk perbanyakan menggunakan stek. Sedangkan yang kami kemudian teliti lebih lanjut adalah perbanyakan menggunakan buah atau bijinya.
The conservation of this endemic Indonesian plant is carried out by the Bogor Botanical Garden and Cibodas Botanical Garden. Besides having the largest number of collections, researchers at the Ciboda Botanical Garden have also succeeded in conducting artificial pollination, resulting in hundreds of new seedlings. As a conservation site for humid highland plants, Ciboda's Botanical Garden has several significant collections of mosses and Byrrhopitya plants. This is relevant to Indonesia as a home to half of the total 3,000 species of mosses in the world. With a spacious land encompassing 1,500 square meters, Ciboda's Botanical Garden houses more than 100 species of mosses from all over Indonesia and the world. With the number of collections and spacious land, the Moss Garden at Ciboda's Botanical Garden is the largest outdoor garden in Southeast Asia and is used as a site for moss research and development.
Dengan adanya koleksi lumut ini, kita bisa mengedukasi masyarakat atau pengunjung bahwa lumut memiliki berbagai fungsi. Di antaranya memiliki potensi sebagai sarang burung dari burung-burung di habitat alaminya, kemudian memiliki potensi obat untuk mengobati penyakit hati, juga yang paling penting adalah sebagai indikator pencemaran udara.
Research on these pioneer plants continues to be intensified. Mosses play critical roles in ecology and botanical science. For example, that its existence is vital in ecological succession, as well as providing microhabitats by storing water reserves and also preventing erosion and flooding. Years of uncontrolled logging would lead to even the strongest of rainforests to become vulnerable. Until about 30 years ago, hardwood was still one of the sources to drive the economy in Indonesia. This unsustainable exploitation has drastically reduced the natural population of many hardwoods. One of the most sought after among commercial wood species is Sulawesi ebony, or Diospyros celebita. In international trade, this wood is also known as Coromandel ebony or street ebony. It's no surprise that currently Sulawesi ebony is categorized as vulnerable in the IUCN Red List of threatened species. Purwodadi Botanical Gardens, as a conservation site of dry lowland plants, has a collection of ebony trees that include 32 species and another unidentified 41 species. Ebony Sulawesi, among others, is the most important in the collection.
Fokus Kebun Raya saat ini adalah bagaimana kita mengeluarkan daftar-daftar tanaman yang terancam punah dari daftar IUCN itu aman. Artinya populasi yang ada di alam itu dikembalikan lagi kepada populasi yang aman. Sehingga daftar itu menjadi lebih pendek dari yang ada sekarang.
Restoration of natural habitats is also beneficial from an ecological standpoint. Therefore, information on forest carbon stored in biomass is needed to describe the condition of the natural ecosystem of the Sulawesi ebony. Trees have the ability to store carbon in each of their structures, and through the photosynthesis process, they release oxygen back into the atmosphere. Biodiversity is very much embedded in people's daily lives. As a part of life with many innumerable benefits, the socio-economic function, particularly food security, is also an important aspect. For example, uwi, or Dioscora alata, a plant that people in Java have eaten during a time of famine as an alternative food. Through a series of explorations in several areas in East Java over a decade ago, the number of collections owned by Purwodadi Botanical Garden has reached as many as 50.
Kemudian juga untuk pengembangan, sebagai contoh adalah tadi Dioscorea, kita kembangkan menjadi produk pangan alternatif, di mana produk ini kalorinya rendah sehingga cukup baik untuk diet.
There are 3 primary research areas focused on the nutritional content of Dioscorea as an alternative food product. They are carbohydrates, proteins and fats. The results of the study indicate recommending 6 accessions for breeding and further development. Furthermore, the researchers also made efforts to process uwi into flour so that in the future, more people can use uwi-based flour for various processed products. Bali, the island of gods, an island blessed with abundance, culture, and adorned with natural beauty. The daily life that enriched with a spiritual way of being, implemented with a ritual which lies on a philosophical basis, where respecting plants and preserving sustainability is emphasized, so that every mortal being can fulfill their needs. A manifestation of love toward the Mother Earth, inherited from mother to daughter, from generation to generation, bringing a constant natural balance to life. The philosophy of sustainability with the beauty of rituals among the people in Bali, must have a special attention of their own. Most of these ritual activities require leaves, flowers and fruit as the main elements of the ceremony.
Di dalam budaya Bali, pemanfaatan tanaman itu menjadi salah satu hal yang utama di dalam melakukan ritual begitu ya. Sehingga kemudian kita perlu mengkonservasi tanaman-tanaman ini karena kalau tidak ini bisa mengakibatkan kepunahan begitu ya.
Since 30 years ago, the Eka Karya Bali Botanical Garden have been exploring and researching throughout the island. The hard work yields invaluable numbers of information on the abundance of plant species that Bali is endowed with, as well as additional collections. The collection is thematically arranged in a special location named Taman Panchayatna. Currently, Taman Panchayatna is home to 250 species of traditional ceremonial plants. Among 30 of them are plants that are included in the IUCN Red List, categorized in the conservation status. The rich heritage of knowledge about traditional medicines is also one of the cultural treasuries of Bali that needs to be preserved. One source of the traditional medicines is documented in an old manuscript entitled Lontar Usada, which records types of medicinal plants. Usada, which in Balinese translates to treatment, was later used as the name of the thematic garden in the Eka Karya Bali Botanical Garden. The garden's concept is to specifically collect living specimens from what has been written in the Lontar Usada. Taman Usada, which covers an area of 2 hectares, was founded in 2006 and now becomes home to 300 types of plant collections.
Jadi kalau kita bicara konservasi, kata kuncinya itu 2, yaitu penyelamatan dan pemanfaatan. Sehingga kemudian konservasi ini tidak terlepas dari konteks sosial budaya masyarakatnya. Sehingga dalam konteks pemanfaatan tadi, kita bisa mempertahankan atau melestarikan budaya lokal, tetapi dengan memasukkan ilmu pengetahuan di dalamnya, kita juga mendorong kemajuan masyarakat dan kemajuan bangsa ini untuk menatap masa depan.
One of the initial use of these plants is the manufacture of essential oils that can be extracted from all parts of plants and have been used in various industries. Based on the identification of the collection in Taman Usada, 60 plants have the potential to produce essential oils. The most commonly found phytochemical compounds are flavonoids with antiseptic, anti-inflammatory, analgesic and antidepressant properties. In the long run, the establishment of Indonesian botanical gardens, along with all activities and researchers, represents an institution that every human resource plays a vital role as the last bastion to maintain sustainability. Scientific-based conservation involving both the research into the wise use of plants and providing a centre of management of biological resources can adequately satisfy humanity's life needs and the welfare of the planet, today and in the future.